going to go through Bravery next, but because we have covered this because of obviously the mocks and the feedback that we did with that, I'm not going to go into it too much. So I'm going to start with a bit of context. The idea of bravery very much so linked to masculinity. Masculinity also very much linked to violence. So this idea of being brave, being violent, but that's being valiant as well, which is how Macbeth's described at the start of the play. So, Shakespeare's message about bravery. Shakespeare's message about bravery. So I put bravery is noble if the intention is selfless. That's something that we see in the play quite a bit. Bravery generally is seen as a virtue in the play. And actually when Macbeth loses his bravery and he actually becomes quite fearful and quite scared, consumed with guilt, we're not really seeing his bravery anymore, and that's because he's lost his virtue. That virtue that he started off in the play with, brave Macbeth, he's lost that because what he's doing now, the intention is not selfless, it's actually selfish. That takes the bravery out of it. So let's start with looking at Macbeth. And I'll do a very quick kind of almost timeline for him. So initially he is praised for his bravery, brave Macbeth. I'm not going to add any more quotes from that scene, but a lot of quotes about how fierce he was on the battlefield. So a lot of quotes showing how violent Macbeth is very early on in the play. So we know that he is capable of such violence. However, this violence is praised at this point in the play. He's not being looked at as a butcher, he's looked at as valiant and brave. Okay, so that's something to consider. Macbeth, well, this is actually a quote from Lady Macbeth. She speaks about how he's full of the milk of human kindness. She's almost trying to say that, or she's always linking him to femininity with this quote, which takes him away from that brave masculinity, and she's quite aware of the fact that he has that kind of kindness, that fear, which we end up seeing later on in the play. You've got Macbeth losing, I'm going to write overcome by fear in Act 2, Scene 2. And I'm not going to give the same quotes because the same quotes from the guilt one. Overcome by, I'm just going to add in guilt and fear, so you know to look back at that. So then you've got Macbeth and Banquo's ghost. He says, a bold one, as in he is bold for being able to look in the face of this ghost when Lady Macbeth is actually criticising him and saying that he's being fearful. He actually says, no, I'm actually being very bold and brave because I'm able to look at the devil. He refers to Banquo's ghost as the devil in the face. So maybe a confusion of what bravery looks like, or in truth that is bravery, you could argue. Okay, then you've got I'm gonna just write Act 5, because throughout Act 5 he is gearing up for battle with false bravery. So the bravery comes from the witch's apparitions. There's a false sense of security that he's feeling, and it's that bravery with which he's gearing up for this battle. He says that he has forgotten what fear tastes like. I'm paraphrasing there, just check that quote. He's forgotten the taste of fear. Doesn't mean necessarily that he's brave, but almost like he's become numb to it all. And that's kind of the journey that Macbeth is on. Starts off by being brave, although at the beginning, before he even kills Duncan, Lady Macbeth lets us know that there is another side to him, and then we sort of see that other side throughout the play. Lady Macbeth is who I'm going to look at next, but a bit less. Brave for her husband. I'm going to say unsex me here, because she wants to be filled with direst cruelty. She is not actually this brave masculine character at the start of the play. She wants that masculinity, she wants that bravery so that she can go through with this plan. So she's brave for her husband. She criticises Macbeth's fears throughout the play, although they have lesser of an effect on him later on. And then lastly, of course, her sleepwalking. Just look back at the guilt mind map for that. Any other examples of bravery? You could say Macduff. His patriotism makes him brave. There's this part in the play where he finds out that his children have all been killed and his wife as well, and he cries then, and when Malcolm tells him to be brave and dispute it like a man, he says, I must feel it like a man first. So bravery is feeling grief, and crying, being vulnerable. That's what That's what Macduff shows us. He's a vulnerable, very much like a real. When I say a real person, I mean that he is how he appears to be, and he is brave when he is vulnerable, and he can grieve in front of other men, even if it might not have seemed so masculine. You've also got this character of young Seward. Very minor character, but he dies a soldier's death. That means that he goes to fight Macbeth before Macduff goes to him, and he's actually killed by Macbeth. But he's stabbed in his chest, not in his back. And his father's actually very proud of his bravery, because he didn't run away from the battle. He faced the battle. If you were stabbed in the front, that means that you died while fighting. If you were stabbed in the back, that means you died because you tried running away. And he's a young man, but makes his father very proud. His father's actually able to cope with the fact that he's died because of the fact that he was a brave young man. Just goes to show how important the idea of masculinity, bravery was in the time. It's very much linked to nobility, being a noble person. Violence is interesting though when it comes to bravery. It is seen as something that is almost noble, valiant, brave, through Macbeth's description at the start of the play, but then also through Macduff and young Seward as well. These are all men that are acting in violent ways. Generally it's not seen as a negative thing, but with Macbeth, if you think about it, all those deaths that he causes afterwards, he's actually quite a coward, because he doesn't go and fight Banquo, he doesn't go and kill Macduff's family, he doesn't storm their castle, he goes and starts sending assassins around. So actually, when it comes to violence, he is referred to as the butcher at the end of the play, the dead butcher. But really speaking, we see him kill Duncan, we hear about him killing all these people as brave Macbeth, we see him kill young Seward, but other than those people, we don't really see Macbeth doesn't actually go ahead and kill these people. He actually becomes quite a coward through the guilt, paranoia, all of that comes. So that's something to consider when it comes to bravery.